Before we get into Turning Point's response, let's see why Candace got them shaking in their boots.
Rob McCoy was on this text thread, and I think it helps contextualize him as a person, in my view, that he would attack me for telling the truth about the pressure that he was facing. Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Then somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term. In my opinion, like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay? So what are we to make of that? Okay, now that I'm showing you this and showing to you that the conversations were real, I want you to reflect, and it took me a lot of patience to allow the lies that were being woven and the misrepresentations of people that were pretending that I was just, high on lying about Charlie and the pressure he was under, the attacks that not just me, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly faced for trying to stand up and tell the truth about what Charlie was actually going through. Why are you hearing it, though, from me and Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly? Is that weird?
Candace Owens might be a conspiracy theorist. However, she got the receipts and she showed, yes, Charlie Kirk was being pressured by Jewish donors. Let's go ahead and get into Turning Point's response after this intro, you guys. All right, so Turning Point has responded, and I can tell you they are pissed. Now, let's go ahead and check out this video together. But first, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's get to it, y'all. And this is Andrew, Charlie's friend. With friends like this, who needs enemies? Listen, I never thought Candace would make me a fan. I'm a fan of Candace. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Let's get into it, y'all.
Address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friend's trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public.
So is he trying to say that Candace somehow got this mysteriously, like somebody sent it to her? Well, here's the thing. If you gave it to the government, why are you passing it around to other people?
It was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care. We're not investigating every lead. We're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just like, sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah, so it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this. Yeah. And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately to be with the family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So there's that. But I am aware that...
But if they already got the shooter, how would you be messing anything up?
in my role as spokesman for Turning Point USA, which is another hat I wear, that the things I say, I'm cognizant of the fact that things I say could negatively impact an ongoing investigation. All right. But I will weigh in specifically on this issue of Israel, because I know there's a lot of fascination. And I just want to say that, you know, we have to let free speech be our North Star here. Okay. Charlie was adamantly free speech. And I am not personally going to impugn anybody's character who is asking questions and looking for answers. All right. And I will say that text chain is consistent with public frustrations that he voiced many times. And I know, Blake, you were in the trenches on a lot of this stuff because we were workshopping how we were going to do the tour and what he's going to get asked about Israel, what he's going to say. And this is consistent with things that he told his friends, people that are, in the wider movement, about his wrestle that he was going. And so I just want to say, like, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and it was a wrestle that was going on for months. And it's probably somewhere between the BB letter and the text.
I don't even think there's a between about it. I think those are entirely consistent with the exact same worldview. Yes. Charlie was not hiding things from people. People are going to try to make you fixate on a particular quote or a particular line to make you think that there was something hidden. There was nothing hidden about Charlie's views on Israel. Like Charlie, I worked with Charlie on every major issue that we talked about, immigration, abortion.
If I'm being sent money or people are donating money from a certain group of people, I'm going to have a very favorable opinion. So I don't agree with that at all. Charlie definitely knew where his bread and butter was coming from. And so he had to push a narrative. He was advocating for Israel. Now, was it irritating and everything because he was being pressured? Yes, but he never exactly came out against Israel. And when he did, they're going to play the Megyn Kelly clip. It was more or less like, oh, well, people are questioning how come you can't criticize Israel, more in that sense. But he never came out and said, Israel is making me do X, Y, and Z.
Portion of transgender stuff. And he thought about the Israel issue a ton, all the time. It was in the news all the time. People cared about it a lot. He cared about it a lot. Just before the shooting happened, I finished reading, this is a 700-page book about the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I read this book because Charlie said, Blake, get really well-versed on this so you can help me whenever it comes up and just know stuff off the top of your head. Yeah. So I read it for that reason. If you want to know Charlie's views on the Gaza war, he wanted the war to end. He didn't want America to take Palestinian refugees. He was annoyed when people advocated that. He didn't want American troops on the ground there or with any other war. And he was upset when he saw stories about churches being damaged or Christians being killed. But at the same time, he recognized Hamas started the war. Hamas could end the war. Israel ultimately represented European civilization. Hamas represented Middle Eastern barbarism. And Hamas were the chief evildoers, and people who supported them were almost always supporting them for these bad, like anti-civilizational reasons. Yeah, that's what his view was, and he was public about that. And then,
mind you, it reminds you that Charlie Kirk wasn't necessarily a fan of Gaza or the people of Palestine at all. You heard what he said.
As it continued, Charlie talked to young people all the time. He could see what was going on the internet. He could see among young conservatives there was a big shift to be hostile to Israel. There was a shift big time on the left, but it was also visible on the right. He could tell anti-Semitism was rising in America, and that upset him. Charlie was public about this. He loved Israel, he cared about Israel, and he cared about how that, and he wanted to help the pro-Israel movement.
Yeah, and I want to play this. It's a long clip, but I said something on the Alex Clark show that was, in my mind, completely consistent with Charlie's public views about Israel, and that is something that he expressed very publicly on Megyn Kelly. Now, I know this clip has gone viral, but I think it's worth playing again. So here's Charlie in his own words with Megyn Kelly, cut 65.
And I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megyn, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat. Literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megyn, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
It's funny because it's like what I'm hearing right now is Charlie Kirk basically saying, I've been a good boy. I'm a good boy. But because I do this one thing, you guys criticize me. But I've been a good boy. So I believe Candace when she said like his opinions, obviously with the text message, were changing, right? But he knew that he couldn't go he couldn't pull a Candace Owens. He couldn't pull a Tucker Carlson. And I wouldn't even throw Megyn Kelly in that category because she's very much, and she even said she's a Zionist. So I wouldn't even put her in that category, but she questions, right? However, with Charlie Kirk, I could definitely see how, because he had a large voice, like they are like, nah, we ain't gonna let you say X, Y, and Z, because again, you got these young Republicans that they're trying to basically turn into Charlie Kirk. His voice is larger than theirs.
No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megyn. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, I mean, you saw it, Megyn. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megyn. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and it's offensive. It's offensive to those of us who have been out there defending them in many instances against critics on our own side.
So this group chat text, he does say, that he is leaving him no choice but to leave the pro-Israel side. Here's what I want people to know. Charlie said these things publicly and privately to us, like that he was frustrated. He would say something like that, and then he would go in a public situation and he would strike a more moderate tone. And we can blow the brakes.
Well, no, I wouldn't frame it that way. I would say he was frustrated because he didn't like we can get into this actually.
Well, yeah.
Get past the break here.
Well, no, it's fine. What I'm saying is he would be frustrated, but like the point when I say moderate tone, when he would say something off the cuff, maybe to you or to me or to some other friend, like his public statements, he would kind of strike just a little bit more tender tone, if you will. And so here's the thing. I looked at that moment as like, he's just blown off steam. He's frustrated. He's venting. Right. And I just want to say, like, he made that very clear under any circumstances that he was not going to be cowed or bullied into deplatforming Tucker, for example. He made that expressly clear to us. Would he have invited Candace? I have no idea. I think what he was saying in that text, he's like, keep coming at me, bro, and let's see what happens, right? And Charlie was wonderfully defiant. He was wonderfully independent, and he would not, he believed in the freedom of speech, and he felt like he deserved, as a friend of Israel over many years, the right to speak out and have criticism. I will say one other thing, is that he's loyal. Charlie was loyal to people that he had shared history with. Right. He was asked.
One thing that I want to say is that was he in fact using Candace as a pawn as far as like, when he was questioned like, oh, don't bring this person. And then Charlie Kirk responded by saying, oh, I'm thinking about inviting Candace, almost like, hey, I know this person is going to piss you off because, mind you, Candace was invited in 2024. Now, she had already kind of went off the deep end because she got fired from the Daily Wire, but she didn't go so hard. Now we fast forward to now. Oh, she's going hard on Israel. So I could definitely see him being like, I can't really have her at the events because I know this will go crazy. Candace has said that there was going to be a reunion. She kind of teased it, but then, Charlie Kirk was taken out. But I still wonder, what was Candace and Charlie Kirk's relationship like? Were they cool or were they not?
I think this may be what you were about to say, Blake. He was asked about Candace before in public, and he would always say, listen, we're friends. He would never say an ill word about her. And if people, tried to force him to do that about Tucker or whatever, he would always be defiant because he didn't want to be morally blackmailed.
Exactly. Charlie was loyal to people who had ever been friends to him, whether it was very old donors or just people who had worked with Turning Point.
Yes.
And as long as they were not attacking him, he would not air any dirty laundry or, frankly, any disagreements he had with people. He did disagree with Candace on the Israel issue. He disagreed with Tucker on the Israel issue. But he also recognized Tucker had positions they agreed on. Tucker was a useful voice in the conservative movement on many things. And so he invited him to events, and, they were popular events. And so he would react. Sometimes people would just say, yeah, don't invite him, or we're going to, cut off some large donation. And that would make him angry. He would say this, yeah, as you say, this is moral blackmail. And he's this Scottish guy. He's combative. His reaction to that is, the classic, like, screw me, no, screw you, that sort of thing.
He had, and it's one of my favorite parts about Charlie is just how like defiant and independent he was.
Yeah,
he was never going
to not be controlled by other people.
You could not buy him. He was not bought and paid for. You could not control him with money. It just wasn't the way he was wired. He didn't actually care about money that much.
And so what's going on here? What is going on here? You guys can look up what the text says. What is going on is Charlie, as I mentioned, he loved Israel. He cared about Israel. He cared about the Holy Land. And he was aware there was a surge of anti-Israel sentiment on the right. Charlie thought seriously about this issue and was trying to chart a path forward for people who were sympathetic to Israel. He was playing the good cop here. He was saying, you guys don't realize how bad it could potentially get.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change your PR. That's why he writes a letter to Bibi. You are losing the PR war. You need to change how you do your PR. You need to change your messaging to the American right. You might need to change what you expect from us, that you're not going to be able to count on just, for example, unlimited military aid from America. That's just not going to be tenable going forward. So maybe it has to be a more passive relationship. Maybe you need to give more support towards America. Some more support towards America in, for example, opposing
something that they're not talking about is, where's the smoke for the donors or the people pressuring Charlie Kirk to change his opinion? Like, how come they have no smoke for them? It's like they're trying to not defend, but necessarily draw the narrative to like, oh no, Charlie Kirk was just frustrated. He wasn't like actually thinking about quitting the Israel movement. Like, he was just frustrated. But where's the smoke for the people behind the scenes, the donors that were pressuring him? Where are they? Like, that's what we want to know. Like, tell us who they were.
Islamic migration into America. That's one thing he thought we could ally on. And he was trying to do all of this because he cared about the relationship and wanted to chart a way forward on it. And he would feel angry and upset when people would react to this by blowing up and suggesting he was an anti-Semite or a hater. He would get angry about that because he knew it was untrue. And then he would sometimes vent about this. Yeah. He would vent about this to people who understood that, who were pro-Israel people who shared his view on that issue.
Well, exactly. And just why I, didn't share this publicly, it was because this was a private message between Charlie and some people, some Jews and non-Jews, where he was, frustrated. He was frustrated. And that would have felt like a betrayal to my friend because he never said anything like that publicly in like a show, right? He said things with Meghan that were very, like, we just played them. I went on Alex Clark's show and I felt like I did a faithful job of expressing what I believed his genuine feelings were. One thing that I want to reiterate, this is an ongoing investigation. There are things that are happening that I don't know about. I also, however, am cognizant of the fact that whatever I say could, first of all, it could negatively implicate an ongoing investigation, but
so you gave evidence and material that's used in the investigation to other people, and you don't see a problem with that. All right.
So I want you guys to think about, before you press send, before you hit publish, just think about, maybe tainting a jury pool, maybe the implications.
And no. Why did you send it, sir? Why did you send it? That's the real question. Why did you send it?
Could be negative in that way. Another thing I want to say is that when it veers into, attacking some of the people that love Charlie the most and were closest to him, I just want you to have pause and think maybe, there's so many people around here, Blake, that haven't even had a chance to grieve yet fully, right? Because you go from this and then obviously, and I don't begrudge people, or I'm not going to impugn their character for asking questions, because I think a lot of it comes out of love and respect for Charlie and wanting the truth. And I just want to say, me too. I want the truth. That's why I shared that screen grab in the first place, because no stone unturned. But here's two things that I know about Charlie, and I think you would back me up on this, Blake. Two things I know Charlie would not want to see come out of the investigation, or just the, people's fascination with this case. He would not want to see it divide the movement or divide the coalition, because he worked so hard at helping build the coalition, the Trump coalition, and helping build the movement and the many players that play such an important role in it. And he wouldn't want to see it hurt Turning Point USA. This Turning Point USA, he loved like you can't believe. It was his baby. He put so much time and energy into building Turning Point.
Again, they're making sure to defend the business, the corporation, right? Or the nonprofit.
Picking the people that could play in different roles. And I know that those are the two things Charlie wouldn't want to see happen out of this. But again, I actually totally am sympathetic. Like, a lot of you have been lied to. A lot of us have been lied to by people that shouldn't be lying to us, whether that be about COVID or lockdowns, or even what happened with the President Butler. There's still open questions there. I am very sympathetic to wanting to get the truth of these things. But again, just because I don't say things publicly doesn't mean that we aren't asking questions privately or we aren't pursuing things privately. And I think this is an example of that. And I'm just really like, it wasn't mine to share publicly, but I'm actually just really excited that it's public. Okay. Because I want the truth to be known. The truth was, it was a wrestle. And actually, Blake, you know that probably better than anybody, because you were helping him really prepare on the Israel topic for this tour. And the last thing, and I've been asked to address this by a few people that are in really good faith, some people on our team, and that is Doge. That the idea that there was a concern about the finances, first of all, of Turning Point. First of all, of course, Charlie drove always, constant improvement. That was one of the things that he was really fixated. He loved Doge so much that he made us make Doge shirts on the show. Like, these are currently on the show website. And kind of down low, Charlie was a bit of a Elon Musk fanboy. Like, he really loved that Elon built things in America.
Let's keep talking about the money issue. Like, I don't care about Elon Musk and no. Let's talk about the money, because that makes a lot of sense. Candace was on to that. Remember?
He didn't just make his money by selling financial instruments or pieces of paper or hedging bets. He builds beautiful things, well-designed things. So he really loved Doge and wanted to sort of bring that spirit. And I just want to say, every spring, he would kind of plan the fall audit and he would try and drive improvement because he wanted to know where every dollar was going. He just loved Doge. I mean, it's one of those, there's not a whole lot more there on the Doge thing, but you know this as well. But anything else you want to add before we bring Halpern in?
Yeah, I want to really emphasize that people will use screen grabs of things to suggest there was distance between what Charlie personally believed and what he said publicly. And I really don't think there was.
It's a shot at Candace.
Anything you can see in a screenshot from any group chat is also what Charlie was saying publicly. Charlie would say publicly, I am frustrated by what pro-Israel people in the U.S. do to pressure people. I am frustrated.
Well, he thought it was counterproductive. He actually thought it was making the problem
worse. It was counterproductive for the issue at large, and it was personally hurtful to him because he faced attacks that he thought were unjustified and and were hurtful to him because they were people he considered friends and allies. And he cared a lot about that because Charlie, as I've always said, Charlie was a person who cared. He was a good person. He cared about the good of America. He cared about the good of the world. He cared about the good of American Jews. He cared about the good of Christians. And
I don't know about that one, but I'm going to go ahead and end it right there, you guys. But again, Candace Owens was on to something, and yeah, they had to respond and they had to say something. Now, I'm just wondering, what does Erica think about all this? That's who I really want to hear from. But this is Turning Point's response to Candace Owens. I wanted to go ahead and do a live reaction with you guys. Please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But we out of here, y'all. Deuces. Let's see what else comes out of this.